not quite as useful as it could be, but at least it gives you a taste of how they would, okay, good. Oh,
So are there third order Jesuits? You said each of these
I think
groups
there are
has.
third order Jesuits. I don't know. That's a good. I was actually looking into the third orders yesterday. I don't remember seeing the Jesuits.
All right, here we go.
I don't know. Google. Well, there you go. We'll find out.
It'll take a little forever though. Go ahead.
Well, I would if I could.
Yeah.
Don't fail me now. Oh.
There it is. Oh, it's on.
It's still brightening up. It's just, it's
taking
warming up.
time.
It's warming
I
up.
am not a patient person. Okay, so.
There, look how bright it is.
Oh, that's not what I wanted. Oh, you have failed me. Okay, we'll talk about the Dominicans, and then we'll go into the lay spiritual movement. The Dominicans are, does anybody know their initials? I always ask you guys this. OP, what's that stand for?
Order of Preachers.
Right, so their primary charism is to preach. And St. Dominic was around 12th century, late 12th century, and he's Spanish. And his conversion moment was right around actually I think he was in France at the time, but he was traveling with a bishop, and he came across a group of people professing some kind of heresy, and I don't remember which one. And he decided at that moment that the problem with the laity is they don't have good information, and that he should found an order of preachers to teach the truth about the gospel and the teachings of the church. So that was his charism, was preaching, and he founded his order specifically to do that.
That's what OP means.
OP means order of preachers, yeah.
That was some Latin.
No, you know what? And that's the thing. It gets very confusing because sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't, and you think you got it figured out, and you don't. So, so the other name for the order of preachers, does anybody know what it is? Well, it's Dominicans. Yeah. That was a trick question.
I could've said yeah.
But I thought we were-
So, Tish, would it be OP in another language?
No, probably. Well, I don't know. I don't know. Names are different. Names translate different.
That's like Praetorium or something in Latin.
Yeah, so it's probably based on the Latin. So probably,
So, probably, okay.
yeah. That's a good question, because like SJ is Society of Jesus, but that's what they are, is SJ, but that's a Spanish order, so.
Yeah, I think in Latin it's still the same. Like,
Must be.
even in Benedict, so most of the time they, because like the Salesians are like SVDV, right? That's all Latin. So.
Yeah, that's a good question. OSB, Order of St. Benedict. I don't know. Find out what happened. So, there are two slides missing here. One is the How We Pray slide for the Dominicans. Does anybody know what prayer form the Dominicans really pushed, and it's what made it such a popular prayer form in the church today? The Rosary.
Oh.
The Dominicans are all about the Rosary, all about the mysteries of Christ's life. So they really pushed that prayer form, and they were really instrumental in making it the devotion that it is. Okay.
So if there were such great preachers, is there a list of their preaching, of their best sermons, or someplace?
Are you looking for a little help in the
I
future?
don't
Exactly.
If you've ever
You can get
heard,
a nice paper written.
if you've ever heard a Dominican preach, they must do an amazing job in their homiletics courses or
Homiletics,
something.
yeah.
I mean, they are amazing.
Well, gosh, you'd hope so.
But it's
mean-
across the board. It's not even like, oh, that one's not very great.
Yeah.
They are really.
Well, as the
Edifying.
orders of preachers, yeah, you would think they would be.
Well, and I think it's probably nature of the beast, and people who speak well are probably attracted to that. I mean, the self-fulfilling prophecy, maybe.
Maybe.
What is that?
Predictorum. Order predictorum.
Preach.
Preach, that's what that means.
Where is it?
It says Dominican.
Oh, I see it, yep. Mhm.
She keeps sweeping by here. I'm sure I said this dumbfounded look at my face.
Never heard that word.
I need to look more contemplative when the video camera goes by.
We'll edit you out.
That dummy in the side there. Okay, so Dominicans are all about the rosary and preaching. Their famous Dominican is St. Thomas Aquinas, another doctor of the church. What else? I guess, and you're talking about how they pray, we talked about the rosary, but how they live would be preaching in the marketplace. That is not just preaching, but in the marketplace to the people. Reach them where you can find them. So they're another outgoing ministry or charism, spirituality.
So this is what I don't know if you guys call it here the prophets, but in my country we call it the prophets. These people dress up in white every Saturday and go in the marketplace to preach without shoes. So when you are talking about Saint Teresa, how she preached,
Carmelites, yeah.
they wore her shoes and beat her tambourine and played the guitar, and they did that same stuff.
Well, you know, that's
And
interesting.
they are not Catholics.
Yeah.
But it's just a way of
She had, you know, she's
Evangelizing.
from a part of Spain that had a tremendous African influence in it at the time that she was living there. Oh, are they Christian or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
People go to them for prayers.
Right.
They are mostly women, and they just preach without shoes, and they have the tambourine, the guitars.
Are they affiliated with each other? So
Yes.
they're, okay, interesting.
Yes, they are, and they dress the same way with their hair thing,
And it's called the Prophets?
yeah, we call them the prophets, or the Holy Ghost people, or the Aladuras.
What's that?
Because they that's how they call their church. Aladura is in a different kind of dialect. That means they stretch their hands and pray to God, and
Ah.
they scream and call him.
Pentecostal.
Kind of like Pentecostal, but they're not Pentecostal. They call themselves Aladura. Yeah, but they go around praying for people like every Saturday. People used to wait for them.
So definitely preaching in the marketplace.
Yeah, in the marketplace.
We should make you guys go down to the Saturday farmers market. I'm getting so many good ideas. Without shoes and a tambourine.
I think I'll do it. I think I'll do it well.
I think you'd be great.
I'll be really great at it.
All right, we got it. Okay, so that's one more thing about the Dominicans that just an interesting side fact, and this was another slide that should be in here. The symbol of Dominic, sort of the iconographic symbol in stained glass windows you see a lot, is a Dalmatian, a black and white dog carrying a piece of fire, because the story has it that his mother dreamed of a black and white dog when she was carrying him, and that it was carrying fire, and so she, after he was born, she decided that was about him, and that he would carry God's message through the world, which he did in fact end up doing. And Dominic is kind of a pun. It's Dominicanus, means God's dog. So that's what the Dominicans call themselves. We're God's dogs, and they have this Dalmatian. That's their symbol with a piece of fire. So if you ever see that in a stained glass window, it's about Dominic.
That's pretty cool.
So those are the main orders. Those are the main religious orders that have contributed to Catholic spirituality through the years. So we talked about the Desert Fathers, the Benedictines, Carmelites, Franciscans, Ignatians, the Jesuits, and the Dominicans. There are so many more. They're just not quite as influential. So Redemptorists, does anybody know about the Redemptorists? They're primarily a mission order. My uncle was a Redemptorist, and he went to Thailand and China. They're all about the crib, the cross, and the sacrament. So it's all about the Paschal mystery and the Eucharistic sacrament. They're preachers and missionaries. And then I think we should end by talking about lay movements, and then I'll let you guys go. So we'll go early. And I know that makes you all really sad.
Very
Sorry.
sad.
But we don't have much time left on our camera.
But we have 71 minutes. Just keep talking.
Oh, I'm just gonna keep going.
You're getting your own ride home.
So, when you talk about lay
she's here till the
spiritual
camera's
movements, we've been talking about third orders this whole day. So the third order is, again, the lay affiliation with any formal religious order. And the one we're not sure about is Jesuits, whether or not they have one. Benedictines do, Carmelites do, Franciscans do. Does anyone know what the second order is?
I think uncloistered women religious.
Well,
Women. It's just women. Yeah. It's whatever the gender is that didn't found the order. Yeah.
So if
typically
you're
women's movements.
a male, you would be a male third order
So
Carmelite. you'd be a second
Franciscan
order.
is a friar, and that's the first order. A female Franciscan is the second order Franciscan, because she would be a Poor Clare, but she would still be considered a second order.
So specifically with the third, I know someone that's a Carmelite lay person, but he's male. So would he be third order? Or would
No,
he be
he's
second?
third order.
So it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. That's just a different.
Laity is third order, no matter what your gender. Yeah. Okay, so you can be affiliated with all of these, and again, it's if you go online. In fact, I did look up Franciscans, and they don't have. There isn't a particular. This is what you do to be a Franciscan. It's all very follow Christ, follow the gospel. Oh, and by the way, there might be a local chapter. Call them and see what they tell you to do. But it's very loose, and I mean, they have one, but it's very local and particular. It's not just generalized. Yeah.
Is there always a second order?
No.
I don't think
So
the
it could be a
Jesuits have
first
second
and a third.
Right.
Okay.
So the second primary lay spiritual movement, and this next one is kind of controversial, is Opus Dei. This little painting in the corner that's the founder of Opus Dei, and he's surrounded by people working. That was his big thing, sanctification of work. In fact, that's what Opus Dei means, God's work of God or God's work.
Are you talking about on the left or the right?
This guy with the priest.
On the left. Okay.
Yeah,
You're
your left. Um,
Is that my left?
that side.
Okay.
The priest. So, who knows why Opus Dei is kind of controversial right now?
Didn't they have?
It's not the book.
It was
Well, it
yeah.
is the book. That's a big part of it. Yeah.
The
The founder.
What was
or
the name of
one
the book?
guys
The founders had
Tom
an
Hanks.
issue.
With pedophilia.
Yes, but so that's the real
No,
reason.
no, that's the Legionaries of Christ.
Oh
Their
no,
founder's
you're
a
right.
saint.
Yes,
That's
so
Saint
Jose
Jose
Maria
Maria
Escrivá.
Escrivá,
He is a saint. Yeah,
That's
he's
a
being
different-
canonized.
He wrote some great books.
Yeah, you're thinking of the
You're thinking of Marcel
Da Vinci
Marcier.
Code.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Da
And
Vinci
he has
Code.
been- Da Vinci Code. That's
Yeah.
why. Yes, the Opus Dei movement has been celebrated and made famous by the Da Vinci Code. But if you look them up, they are about the sanctification of work. They're very much a lay order. Although you can be an Opus Dei priest now, but the lay order was preceded that. The thing that people say about them, or that their founder said, is people who join the Opus Dei movement enter a church and leave it for the same reason, in order to get closer to God. So in other words, they don't leave the church. They go into the church, they pray, and then they are strengthened to go out of the church and encounter God. Okay, and they are founded in Spain in 1928. And then the post-Vatican II movements, that's my post-Vatican II lay spirituality painting down in the corner there. Characterized by these two things, that one, all are called to be disciples of Christ, and two, that all have an interior relationship with God that should be expressed in works of mercy and social justice. Very much a modern sensibility. Okay? And there are lots of different ones. I mean, there's the charismatic movement. There are lots of little movements that sort of took hold and then dissipated in the last 40 years.
Do you know who's just in Idaho or in Boise necessarily, what movements may be active? We lived in Minnesota for a while, and there are quite a few. But here I know that there's like maybe a small Regnum Christi, and that's the Legionaries of
There's a
Christ,
small everything.
But,
yeah,
but I'm just not familiar with what else.
We don't keep track of those groups at the diocese, so we don't know. I mean, have to go through your parish really to find them.
It's all underground.
But I know, yeah, it's kind of. I mean, it feels underground, although I don't think that's on purpose. But I know there is an Opus Dei group here. As far as other lay movements, I don't know.
What kind of movements did you guys witness and also?
We were attending Communion and Liberation,
What was it, please?
Communion and Liberation, it's called CL, which they kind of describe as Opus Dei for sinners. It's not quite as austere maybe as
Opus Dei Light.
Yeah.
I went to some Opus Dei things there too. There's Schoenstatt and Regnum Christi. Got it.
Yeah, I was from Edinburgh University, but it's very rigid. I mean, but good. I mean, it's just interesting. Community Liberation was sing-songy. There was a lot of singing, and it was a community. And I'm sure it's exercised in different capacities in whatever community you are in. But
I think that in Idaho they tend to be, there are a lot of third order movements here. I know there's a very active third order Benedictines, there's a very active third order Franciscans, so I think lay people tend to gravitate here anyway toward those, but.
and then in the first order we have Benedictines, obviously.
We have Franciscans. We
There's
have
Carmelites.
We have Carmelites, but the biggest communities are the Benedictines. But we do have it is a tiny, but it's a thriving community of Franciscans, of women Franciscans. Yeah.
Where are they?
Down in South Street. You should,
Pocatello.
yeah,
In Pocatello?
Or outside of Pocatello.
yeah. They're outside of Pocatello. Yeah. So,
The desert.
in the desert, right?
We used to have Redemptorists, I think, in Coeur d'Alene. too.
You know what? There was St. Paul's in Nampa was a Marist
Yes.
parish. Yeah. So
So what can you tell me about Redemptorist? I thought that was a whole nother religion. I'd
no,
heard the
it's
term,
Catholic
but
order.
I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
Sorry.
My paper. No. The heart of the Redemptorist spirituality is a gospel invitation to follow Jesus Christ. One of the most tangible ways to do this is proclaim the gospel in simple ways to ordinary people. So they are very missionary. In fact, this is what I learned when I discovered that my uncle was a Redemptorist. They are trained exorcists, or they used to be, because the concept was you're going out to these countries where who knows what kind of pagan practices have been taking place, and you need to be prepared to combat whatever you find there. So typically, you become a Redemptorist priest, you get trained to be an exorcist, and then off you go to whatever country that, yeah.
I would not want to do that.
I would not want to do that either.
Wow.
You know,
And
when
today's
I
the
was
40th anniversary of Exorcist today.
well, and that's the thing. When I was little kid, and that movie was first coming out, I of course wasn't allowed to see it. But I don't know if you remember, the commercials for it were on TV, and I would see a couple of the commercials, and I didn't sleep again for like 6 months.
Wow.
And the problem was, my parents knew I was afraid of this, and in order to make me feel better, my mother said, "Oh, you can talk to Uncle Ted. He's an exorcist." And I'm like, "What? This is real? Are you kidding?" I mean, that totally blew my mind. I was willing to be like, "It's just a story. It's not real." "Oh, Uncle Ted." I'm like, "No, I do not want to talk to Uncle Ted." I mean, it was.
Might touch him and catch something.
That's right. No, I don't. Can I just pretend I didn't hear that? I mean, oh, it was awful. I was like, what is wrong with you? You don't tell a 6-year-old. It's like saying, well, we'll take you to see Buffy. I mean, she knows all about fighting off vampires.
Well, you know that's what baptism is.
Yes.
What did you say, Lou?
That's what baptism is. It's an exorcism.
And on some levels, having things blessed, although it's not the demonic.
If you get a chance, I heard it on DWTN this morning. They interviewed the two guys that did The Exorcist,
Yeah.
and it was an amazing interview.
Yeah,
about
they're
how-
very faith-filled people.
Oh,
those
very
two guys,
faithful, and
yeah.
they talked about how the whole theme of the movie was the love of God.
That's what they thought they were doing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Kind
but
of
it's
felt
still the
lost.
number one
It did a little
scariest
bit.
movie in the
Falmark.
today. It's still the scariest movie.
All God's for it.
Yeah.
And I've never seen it. I
I'll
never
vouch
found
for
it,
it.
and I can't.
You're just so wound up just talking about it. You're like,
I just know. I don't do those
She
movies.
needs an
I
exorcism.
really
Yeah.
couldn't. It was just, yeah.
Pretty intense.
So
movie.
those are the lay spiritual movements. Again, it's very much about an individual journey toward God. But if you look back on what we were talking about, all of these started out that way. So maybe you will become the next founder of the next
Takes a while.
spiritual movement. It does. All of these traditions have relationship at their heart. Even the Desert Fathers. So relationship with oneself, and that would be Carmelites maybe, with each other, Benedictines possibly, with Christ, that should be all of them, with the created world, Franciscans. Their do we meet Christ? That is the question at the heart of any true Christian spirituality. Question mark? Yes, it is. So that should be the starting point for any spiritual journey. Am I going to meet Christ? How do I do it? Do you meet him in the world like Francis, and ourselves like the Carmelites, and community like the Benedictines? And I put this picture of Mary and Elizabeth just because I love how literal it is. The little babies sort of floating around in there.
Oh my gosh, that's what they're supposed to be.
Yeah, it's John and Jesus. And so this is definitely an encounter with Christ, and Christ with his cousin, and the two women with each other, and Elizabeth with Christ, and Mary with John. I mean, it's very much about encounter. And remember that in order for this encounter to happen, what had to happen first?
Mary had to take a trip.
Mary left. That's right. You are so smart. Yeah, Mary had to go somewhere. She had to leave where she was and go
Don't
somewhere else.
encourage him, please.
Sorry.
Smart aleck.
Okay, we have one more thing. Who would like to read this?
I will.
Okay, Derek.
Another morning, and I wake with thirst for the goodness I do not have. I walk out to the pond, and all the way God has given me such beautiful lessons. O Lord, I was never a quick scholar, but sulked and hunched over my books past the hour after the bell. Grant me, in your mercy, a little more time. Love for the earth and love for you are having such a long conversation in my heart. Who knows what will finally happen, or where I will be sent? Yet already I have given a great many things away, expecting to be told to pack nothing, except the prayers which, with the thirst, I am slowly learning.
Isn't that nice? That's Mary Oliver. She's an American poet, American Catholic poet. I really liked it. It seemed to sort of wrap up everything we've talked about. She's encountering God in the world. She's encountering God in her experiences. She knows that she's not to pack anything, that she has to give stuff away. And then it starts with the thirst. So anyway, that's it. I've got no more.
Mary Oliver.
Mary Oliver, she's a Catholic American poet, yeah. Any questions? All right. Thank you. You've been